right, how we doing, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of FSI's PGA Preview. It's major week, our first major of the year. I couldn't be more excited. John, coming off a big takedown weekend. Congrats to you. How'd it feel to win some big monies this weekend?
It was good. One on DraftKings, took down a little one over on Yahoo, took down a bigger one over on FanDuel, which I don't normally play as much. So that was really good, and definitely padded the bankroll to go into major week. We got a lot better contests going on this week, so I'm pumped. It was a really good weekend for me.
I hope you can bring some of that takedown magic over to DraftKings for us, as we are getting some really good, like you said, contest sizes. Another Millie Maker this week. As always, Millie Maker strategies is things we talk about. You'll hear more about that when we get into picks and things like that. A lot of pivots for GPPs and a lot of good cash plays. Also a good cash week. As you know, majors can bring out some of the fish to the pool, so cash games can get kind of flooded with some no badges and some opportunities there. But that being said, big weekend last weekend. Let's get a big weekend going this weekend. New course on the PGA Championship track. So tell us what we're up against with TPC Harding Park.
Sure. So definitely check out the article, No Mulligans, for a little bit more details. But we're going to San Francisco here, TPC Harding Park. This is 7,200 yard par 70. It definitely plays longer than the 7,200 yards on the card. Some of that is due to weather, the fog, just the conditions here. So expect it to play long, even though that number isn't jumping off the page. This course has lots of dog legs. We have very tough to hit fairways, and they're tree lined as well. So we're expecting some difficulties off the tee for some guys. And especially here, the rough is going to be super long, maybe even like ankle deep in some places. So those guys who are missing the fairways are definitely going to pay the price. Finally, we're looking at bent grass greens here. So looking at the field just a little bit, we've got 95 of the top 100 golfers in the World Golf Rankings. Brooks is back trying to get his third PGA Championship in a row. We also have the winners of the last two events played on this course. That's Rory in 2015 match play and Tiger in 2005 at the WGC American Express. Also looking at the field, the bottom of that 6K range is absolute garbage. You want to avoid a lot of these guys. These are some PGA club pros that have qualified for this event. Congratulations to them, but definitely don't add them to your lineups this week. Avoid a lot of those guys in the bottom 6K range. Really 157 entrants. There's like only 130 guys somewhere in there that are even worth taking a look at. So that's about it there. As we look just specifically at weather this week, which is always critical, we are looking at potentially some major weather concerns here on Thursday. This is Tuesday. Here we go. Thursday, it's going to be creeping up into 30-mile-an-hour gusts. The morning guys could have a very good advantage. So we'll pay attention to this a little closer on Wednesday evening and be able to put into our Discord and let our subscribers know exactly what we're looking at here. Potential wave stacking, but also just showdown. It could be a really, really good day for showdown on Thursday. So we'll take a look then. That's about it for looking at key stats here. Driving accuracy, driving distance, off the tee. All those are really important this week. Scrambling, because we know guys will miss the fairway here a decent amount. Since it's going to be so tough too, bogey avoidance, and then par 4 scoring. With it being a par 70, just 2 par 5s. Expect a lot of par 4 scoring specialists to be able to rise up on the leaderboard this week.
Great breakdown as always, John. I couldn't agree more with you on the windy conditions. This is typical San Francisco weather that we see. Windy afternoons, early morning dew with some fog. So some softened greens in the morning on AM stacks. I think for showdowns, that's something we can take advantage of. Just stacking AM 5 to 6 golfers, maybe 6 to 6 on in certain cases, like you said, when you got 20-something mile per hour wind gusts, swirling course as it is. To add swirling winds, that's a recipe for some brutal numbers. And guys that make large numbers are going to be guys that we're going to have to try to avoid. Yeah, I think this course is going to play more like how Memorial played. If you were following along with us during the golfing events with Memorial, and if you were playing golfing events like the Workday, you're going to see the big numbers that we saw at Memorial. It's going to be totally opposite of how we saw Workday play. So that's something you should account for in your lineups. You know, yeah, sure, your guy makes 3 birdies in a row, but if he's going to quad a 4, you know, you're going to give all that position back up. This is, for me, when we find courses like this where scoring is more heavily weighted than it is place, you know, no, I should say this, when place differential means more than scoring. So guys like Ches Reavie, who par a 16 or 18 holes when the conditions get rough, but he's in, you know, 27th, his scoring is going to be higher than a guy like let's just say like one of them stupid club pros or something. Maybe he makes like 6 birdies on the course, but he's got like 7 bogeys, and he's like, you know, +1 and, you know, 80th. Like, you're gonna want Ches Reavie sitting 27th, even if he only has like 2 birdies on the card, because place differential is gonna mean a heck of a lot more when it gets to brutal conditions than it is birdie making and bogeys. Because you know, you're gonna want made cuts, and what we've seen week in and week out is 2% of 6-6 lineups, 5% 6-6 lineups in each and every cut event. And, you know, the 6th golfer has been more relevant this year than it has been in years past with, you know, the top 70 in ties. Now with top 65 in ties, 6-6 has been brutal, but the 6th golfer is basically, I've seen my 6-6 lineups come from literally the dead of just unknown stratospheres, and then come in and finish top, you know, 200 in some contests. So harping on made cuts in this research for me has been definitely something I'm looking into, trying to find the 6-6, because there is no way to the takedown without it, and that is our goal. We have a millionaire maker this week, and I think it's going to be a fun event. I'm going to be back in on the Million Maker. I was not in a couple weeks back, but back in on the Million Maker, trying to make our name, right?
Let's get it.
So, yes, right. So let's drop into picks from there. We'll go with the 10K and up. John, kick us off with your favorite 10K play.
All right. So, I mean, pretty much everyone in this range really is playable. You can make an argument for each and every one of them. For me personally, I'm going to drop down all the way at the bottom, and I'm going to start a lot of my lineups here with Xander Schauffele. Xander here is in fantastic form. If we take a little look at his logs, he's got 3 straight top 15s. He was 6th place last week at the FedEx St. Jude. His last miscut was back in January, and really he's got 6, just looking long-term, he's got 6 top 10s over the last year. So he definitely finds his way up to the top of the leaderboard regularly. If we just kind of focus in on his stats here, since the stoppage, he ranks number 1 in bogey avoidance. Again, we talked about that in the preview here. He ranks number 3 off the tee, 4th in par 4 scoring, and 6th in tee to green. So he is up there in a lot of the categories that I like this week. If I also am taking a look this week, just since there's not much course history, but just major history. And looking back at 2019, he was 2nd place at the Masters, and he was 3rd place at the U.S. Open. I don't know, outside of maybe Brooks, if anyone else had more success over the 4 majors last year. So I'm excited to play some Xander, and I even think we're getting a really good price on him this week, right at 10K flat. I think that's fantastic for Xander. So he'll probably be my number 1 play here. Who are you thinking for your top guy in the 10K plus?
Well, it's probably not a bad pick to pick the number 1 golfer in the world. So I'm going to go and start off with Jon Rahm at 10.5. I think almost a 1K discount from JT this week in a major. Jon Rahm is definitely a guy who can make all the shots on the golf course. You know, he's a winner at Memorial. I think Memorial will play very similar to this course, where tough, long, rough conditions.
Carnage.
Carnage kind of leaderboard. John Rahm almost lapped the field. I think he should get, other than, if he gets the chip in birdie putt or chip in birdie on 16 instead of the double with a penalty, he literally almost wins by 5 strokes. So he's second off the tee in the field, 9th in driving distance. Like we said, we harped on that. 10th in par fours from 450 to 500, which was a key stat for me. I have a lot of guys I want to talk about that are really high in that category. I think guys that are really long with their irons are going to be very pivotal in making greens. Par is a good score. So guys that can even just make greens in regulation is something I really looked into as well. John Rahm, number 1 player in the world, going to be in a lot of my GBP lineups. 6 top 10s this year. You can't go wrong with that. So let's go with another 10K, 11K pick for you. Or we could just start talking about it from the top. How you feeling on JT this week?
There's a lot to like with JT. Obviously, coming off the win, he ranks high in tee to green, in ball striking. There's a whole lot of stats that fall on the side of JT this week. The price is a little steep at 11.3. Don't know if I love it. Brooks obviously came on strong. He had a terrible letdown at the end there. I thought he was going to potentially tie JT and make a push for the win.
That 30-foot bomb he made was crazy.
He blew it and then put it in the water, and it was Brooks out, JT won just like that, without JT having to do anything at the end. It's a little bit disappointing as a fan to try and watch that. But the other guy I like here, Rory, he's won this event before, he has won on this course before, back when he played here at the Cadillac Match Play. So he knows the course. He's had success on the course. Obviously, his off the tee numbers are great. If there's anyone else, though, that I really am going to play the most of up here, it's Bryson DeChambeau. I've been known to pick him quite a bit over the last month or two, so I'm going to continue to go to that well. He did finish 30th last week, so that wasn't super exciting. But he shot 4 under on the weekend. He had a bad Friday round, 73. But he was 13th off the tee and number 1 in putting last week. He lost 7.1 strokes on approach. That is not normally Bryson's game. He's not the best on approach, but he's certainly not one to lose 7 strokes over the course of the 4 rounds there. So just looking back at his recent form over this year, 7 top 10s in his last 9 events, that's fantastic. Since the stoppage, he's number 1 in par 4 scoring, number 1 in driving distance, number 1 off the tee. He is also 7th in bogey avoidance, which kind of surprised me a little bit since he's been known to blow up now and again. But really probably the most surprising, he's number 3 in putting since the stoppage. So I expect that to continue. I expect him to continue to bomb it off the tee. If he can cut a few of these corners on the dog legs, I think he could contend here on the weekend. I'm excited to play some Bryson DeChambeau. Who else are you looking at up top here? I know we've kind of talked about all of them, but what else are you excited about?
I was going to say Bryson's also number 1 in strokes gained head case, too.
As long as there's no anthills out in San Francisco, he'll find something else to get upset about.
Oh, my gosh. He is a riot. He's must-see TV, though, and that's what the game needs.
I can't wait for the cameras to get on him every week. It's great.
Seriously, he is exciting to get on TV. No, Bryson, as far as the DFS standpoint, the putting has been lights out, and it's been saving him from basically every tournament. And what you saw at Memorial was nothing to be. Memorial was that one hole that really blew him up.
One hole.
Since then, he had the 267s. But like he's the kind of guy that I've seen. He had that super run of form, like all these top 10s, and then it's capped off with the win at Rocket Mortgage, and then everybody was basically on the Bryson, train, and they're like, oh, Bryson's going to be the best in the world. He's number 1. He's changing the game, and then all of a sudden, that one hole, that one spotlight moment, and like the 10 happens, the double par, and now he's embracing this like TO kind of attitude for golf, and I think it's great, and I love to watch it. But if I'm trying to bet on him, and if I'm trying to win money on him, and he gets into these moments and these, these pivotal parts of the tournament, and his head's not completely there, I wonder, like, is
Yeah.
this guy really worth rostering at maybe, 10, 11K or, low odds? I don't know. Like, I want to see Bryson get serious, and I want to know what that Bryson looks like, because right now, I think that he's embracing too much of this role as the diva of the tour, and I get worried, and it's a crummy way to look at not rostering someone, especially someone of his caliber. But I think at a major, I just think there's better places to go that I don't need Bryson unless he wins, and I think I'm more safe getting a guy like Rahm, who's more developed in his anger issues, so to speak, because
Sure.
he had the exact same fire that Bryson has
Yeah.
now. He's just a little bit more experienced, centered, and that's why Rahm's number one in the world, and that's why Bryson is
Yeah.
looking on the outside in. I think it's still a great play, and there's nothing wrong with it. I just wanted to talk on how backed off I am a little bit by Bryson's antics, I guess. But the last guy we didn't talk about that I feel like we should is Brooks at 11-1. I think that price inflation from where we were a couple weeks ago, where he was in the low nines, is kind of crazy. Yes, he is a two-time PGA Championship winner.
Back to
Second at the
back.
yeah, back right. Yeah, exactly. And second last week at a WGC, he's kind of got like a circle on his back right now with the two top tens. But yeah, only two top tens this year. Battling any injury, coming back from surgery. It's not all the way right. But like we said, we saw 8.4 strokes gained approach last week. 23rd off the tee, 9th in driving distance. Two things we were really harping on. But
Yeah.
for me, Brooks, this is not a course Brooks plays a lot. So it's not like you could say, hey, PGA Championship rotation, Brooks should be fine. I'm not sure that's the case, and I'm not sure course history means anything to Brooks. And I always question, where his head is at too. Is he just trying to be the number one diva on the tour, or is Bryson, like, they've been going back and forth. The pettiness has been going back and forth. I'd love to see the PGA Tour match them together. I don't know if they came out with tee times yet, but that would be something to see. Finally, I mean, we've all been waiting for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
We
I don't know.
deserve it.
What's your thoughts on the rest of this 10K? Is Brahm
Yeah.
something you're looking into too, or?
Yeah, I'm interested to play some Rom. Honestly, I'd probably rather pay the extra $200 and play some Rory.
Sure.
He's got the win on this course. Rom had a tough week last week. Actually, Rory had a pretty tough week as well. But if we're looking at GPPs, I think there's some merit to playing each of them. If we're playing cash, I think we just toss up every single one of these guys out. To me personally, I'm going to play some Xander potentially in cash, but everyone else is completely off limits, not just due to their price, but their volatility and
Sure.
the way that your roster gets constructed at that point. There's no way you can pay for some of the guys you want in the 8 and 7K range, or I should say the 8 and low 8K range if you're putting these guys in your lineup. So that's the way I'm looking at it. And I'm probably going to play a little more heavy on cash this week. Avoid those guys at the very bottom of the salary pool. Avoid the guys at the top. Play a bit of balance, and then just go heavy on cash here with some bullets going here and there. So that's kind of how I'm looking at the slate as a overall.
Excellent breakdown of this 10K range and how our strategy is going to play out from here. I think that's great analysis. Yeah, major weeks are usually good cash weeks for some of us that play every week.
Yeah.
When you get the majors, you get some of the
People are going to play Tom Lewis and
yeah,
other guys you
right.
never heard of. Like
Some
we're
very
not going to do
recency
that.
bias players. Yeah.
We're gonna
I don't want to
gonna
call
be
them
on
by
point.
name, but fish. You get some fish you
Sure.
get some fish in the pool, and
Yeah.
we finally we take advantage of some guys that finally
It's a good
see
cash
some.
week.
Right, they majors usually are. So let's keep rolling right into the 9K. Very short 9K that for that matter, but let's probably talk into our favorite play of the 9K range. I think we're on the same guy.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, with only four guys here, you don't have to pick any of them, but
Right.
Webb Simpson just sticks out. He was 12th last week at the FedEx. He's ranked, sorry, at the FedEx, he ranked 8th on approach. He was 9th tee to green. He's one of only a couple guys on tour that have 2 wins in the 2020 season. So I'm really excited about that. He won Waste Management and RBC Heritage. In looking at his 2019 majors, he finished 30th, 16th, 29th, and then 5th back at the Masters. So I'm really excited about that. Since the stoppage, he ranks 13th on par fours. He ranks 14th in fairways gained, 18th tee to green. I'm excited about the form. I'm excited really about his history playing in majors. I think Webb Simpson is very clearly the top play in this over 9K range, or in the 9K range, for a lot of good reasons. So that's probably it. He's potentially a good cash guy for me if I don't play Xander, drop a few $100s and play Webb. I don't think you're really losing all that much.
Yeah, Webb was coming off of a Rocket Mortgage top 10 and a win at RBC. Had a family COVID issue after those events and I believe missed a week. Came into Memorial a little cold. And then, obviously missed the cut during some carnage, but, bounced back last week really well. That was good to see. Something I was eyeing on, personally coming into this PGA Championship. I do want to know how his strategy will be for the drivers. It's obviously something you're going to have to deeply dive because he is not very good off the tee. He's not that far. He's like a average 300 hitter, but he does spray it from time to time, so he can get into some trouble. That's not something you want to see with long rough. But if he remains, but like you said, hey, if golfers are clubbing down on dog legs, then I'm not going to worry about Webb not making fairways. But at 9.7, you want to be very sure at what you're doing.
Yeah, well, I mean, and he ranks up there on fairways gained. Just he's not up there on driving distance. He's going to give up the length in order to find the fairways, and I'm okay with that on this course. It's guys that are long off the tee that are wild, like your Cam Champs. I'm not playing Cam Champ this week. We were all over him last week. I am not going to be playing Cam Champ this week. So big difference on that. We need the combination, but I'm going to lead towards a guy who's accurate, who's going to club down like a Webb.
Yeah, I mean, in 9 cuts made, he's got 7 top 10. So obviously, when he's playing his best, he's going to be playing for the top 10, and you can't beat that at 9.7. Firm cash play for me as well. Scouting that since last week. The rest of the 9K range, I think we could both agree that we were before we were talking before this that we were probably going to be out on someone like Tiger with too much unknown. Although he has won at this course before. Somewhere in the 9K. I was hoping to see like mid 8K would like throw everyone into the Tiger pool, and then but there's merit. So like hey, maybe everybody's like, I don't want to play Tiger at that price. So maybe he goes low owned, and then he just becomes Tiger Woods. And then
so we'll end up putting it in the Discord on Wednesday, kind of give an idea on some ownership as we're seeing it across the industry. He obviously has the ability to win. Won back in October at the Zozo, top 5 at the Hero. I mean, he can do it if he wants to, and he's been kind of preparing for this course, this event specifically.
You have seen that, yeah.
And he makes cuts. So he's at 9,200. He's certainly less likely to win than some of the other guys in this range. But if you really want to play Tiger and you love him, I don't think he's going to ruin you this week. I just don't see that happening. But I also don't see him winning you any GPPs. So that's where I'm kind of looking at it this week.
I would agree. Yeah, Tiger, going to be someone like maybe I usually have a Tiger lineup just to have a Tiger lineup because I'm such a fan. And I will love to follow Tiger, but I don't think I'm going to have any high stakes lineups with him unless like we see some crazy like less than 10% ownership. Then I'm going to be like, okay, hey, I might have 5 of 20 and roll some dice with Tiger being Tiger frickin' Woods. But any other guy in this 9K range worth a shot, worthy of talking about?
Yeah, I mean, DJ's in this range as well. Obviously, there was only the 4 guys. So I think after we get through this, we're going to have a lot more options in each price range. But DJ is interesting. He had a good week last week. But personally, I'm going to pay up a little bit here. I'm going to play quite a bit of Patrick Cantlay this week.
California guy.
Yep, California guy since the stoppage. He's 19th in driving distance, 20th tee to green, 18th in scrambling. Bent grass is his the putting surface he gains the most strokes on. We also looked at windy conditions. He is extremely good in those windy conditions.
Yes, he is.
He was 35th last week, so I don't love that. But
bounce back weekend though.
He dropped strokes around the greens putting, both of which he's typically much better at. So, and then just again, we looked at the majors here. He finished last year. He made 4 out of 4 cuts. 41st, 21st. He was 3rd at the PGA last year and 9th at the Masters. Doesn't mean the courses correlate, but certainly when it comes to big competition, big money, Patrick's not one to just shy away and fade off and miss cuts. So I'm interested in playing Patrick Cantlay. I don't know that I'll end up with him in cash, especially with the other guys we like just above him. But Patrick's, I think, a great play this week.
I would agree. Cantlay, I love his mindset too. He is one of the most boringest, interviews in golf, but he is definitely a golfer that you can take seriously and that he takes his craft and his game really seriously. I like Cantlay as well, especially on the West Coast. 11 cuts made as well. The guy doesn't miss cuts, low nines, he can't miss. DJ is a really good West Coast golfer. He's only 9K, which is, if you think about it, him and Brooks were around the same price range last week, and now Brooks is 11-1 and DJ's 9K. I think they played the exact same, just the difference of 10 places and place differential, but they played nearly the same in birdies and eagles. DJ just had a couple more bogeys, but 8th off the tee, 4th in driving distance. His par 4s are bad recently. His approach has been bad recently. And the putting has been, what are you doing at times, with that 3M.
But he did win like 5 weeks ago. So, I mean, that's
right.
The flip side of it. It's what Dustin are we going to get?
Exactly. And, the back issues, you wonder, okay, maybe he got the back ready for WGC. Maybe he overextended himself there. Is his back going to be completely ready for another 4 rounds of tough conditions, windy conditions on the West Coast? Something to be mindful of when you're making roster construction. I'm with you. I think Webb and Cantlay are going to be my preferred options in this price range, and maybe some high 8Ks we'll talk about here right now, and we'll get into that with 8K range. All right, kick us off. Your favorite 8K plays.
Sure. Well, I'm going to start right at the top, and that's with Daniel Berger. He had another great week last week. I know we touted him on last week's show. He ended up with a T2, which really helped me over there on FanDuel to get that takedown. I had both Daniel Berger and I had JT. So that was a good 1-2 punch. Berger, honestly, looking at his logs, even with the Memorial missed cut, he's probably the hottest golfer on tour right now. He has 6 top 10s in his last 7 events, just the missed cut being that 7th one. And at the Memorial, I'm throwing that out just a little bit. That was insanely tough, although this week will be as well. But I think he may have found himself just in some bad lies, some bad spots that he couldn't make up for. He was runner-up. Even though he shot over par on day 1, he was then 11 par over the final 3 days. So if he had just a little bit better on day 1, I think he could have made a push for first here. Last week, he was 9th in tee to green, 6th on approach. He also gained strokes around the greens, putting. If we're looking at all of the strokes gained metrics, he has gained in all of the categories 5 of the last 7 weeks. So that's just really exciting. His game doesn't have very many weaknesses right now. Looking back since the stoppage, he ranks 9th in approach, 10th tee to green, 8th in putting, 5th bogey avoidance, 7th scrambling, 2nd on par 4s. Honestly, he's just lighting up my model right now. He should I'm guessing he's going to be really chalky, both in cash events and GPPs, but I'm not going to shy away from playing a whole lot of Daniel Berger this week. I actually locked him in, played him 100% of my lines on Yahoo with his price last week. His price did come up quite a bit, unfortunately, over there on Yahoo, but I'm going to still play a bunch of him on every single site this week. So he is going to be my top option in the 8K range, although there's quite a bit to like in this 8K. Who are you thinking is your first option to go to?
First go-to for me will probably be Morikawa. I can already envision my Rom Morikawa lineups right now for GPPs. 8-6, sixth in the model, third in approach, eighth in fairways gained, 14th in proximity, 11th off the tee. My proximity number being 2,200 out. Morikawa is one of the best iron players in the world. I have no doubt in my mind he is going to find fairways and find greens. Even if he is bogeying holes, he can still make birdies. My hope is that he doesn't have blow-up holes and he can make some putts. As always, that is a struggle for Morikawa when he is getting on some greens. He can't make some putts. He is a California guy. He went to Stanford through college, grew up out in California. Or he went to Cal? That's what it was. Okay. So, yeah, he's a Cal guy. He can't, right, still. I can't remember who the Stanford prospect was. But, yeah, Morikawa going to be a big – well, there was Tiger. I thought there was somebody younger now that was coming out of Stanford. I can't remember who exactly that was. It might be Doug Gim or something silly like that. But yeah, Colin Morikawa is going to be a big part of my my lineups this week, probably for GPPs, as I feel like Berger will be the better cash play for obvious reasons with his form. But Morikawa is someone that can definitely win. We saw him win the Workday.
He'll be lower owned too, which is going to be a good pivot off Berger. If Berger, doesn't finish up top 10 and Morikawa does it, that'll be a huge advantage over the field.
And that's exactly what I was getting to with the GPP pick. So perfect with that. We have a lower half of the 8K range, unlike the 9K range. What are you feeling is best for 8Ks, the bottom half of the 8K range?
Just looking at the options at first, Hideki Matsuyama, he is underpriced at 8.2.
Yeah, boy.
He's a guy that we often get at 9.5, 10.1, depending on who else is in the field. I absolutely love this price at 8.2, but I'm going with the guy that paid me off again this weekend. I had him in lineups on every single site. He absolutely crushed it for me at T6. That's Matthew Fitzpatrick. He's got back-to-back top 10s now, third at the Memorial, sixth at the FedEx. Last week, he ranked number 1 in putting, which is exactly what we touted him for. He is fantastic on the putting surfaces. He actually lost 3.5 strokes on approach last week and still finished T6. So I expect him to clean that up quite a bit, as well as
Bryson stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So since the stoppage, he is number 1 on in this event, number 1 in putting, 4th in bogey avoidance, 11th in fairways gained, 4th in scrambling, and 16th on those par 4s. I expect another big week out of Matthew Fitzpatrick. I think what we've seen, he may struggle in some events, but when it comes to these big ones, whether it's WGCs or majors, he's just fantastic. Last year, 20th, 12th at the U.S. Open, 41st, and then 21st back at the Masters. So he made 4 out of 4 cuts in the majors as well. If I were to expect him to make a cut at 8.1, finish most likely top 25, I think he really pays off the salary, and he obviously has top 10 upside. I think Matthew Fitzpatrick's going to win a big event over the next maybe 6 months to a year, whether it's a WGC, a major, or the Players, something like that. He's going to pop off, and I'm going to be the guy that said, I told you so.
I love that call on Fitz to win in the next 6 months to a year. That would be awesome. We need to be on it that day too, and I hope it's coming out of absolute. I hope it's coming out of absolutely nowhere too. Like miscut. Oh, Fitz is done, and then boom, wins the Masters. I think that would be, and the thing with the Masters is that's such a long course that asks you so much of your long iron. That a course like this with similar distances, I think that's such a good correlation too. So I'm on Fitz as well. I think that's another strong cash play. Fitz definitely going to be in a lot of my lineups too. Guy that I want to sprinkle a little bit of GPPs on, maybe some Ricky Fowler. I think people are starting to give up the love for Fowler. Now, that is the more sharp mentality. I think a lot of people that don't play golf every week, they see a name like Ricky Fowler at 8-3. They're going to want to go to him, knowing the name, knowing his, corporate sponsors. They see his face more often than they do Matthew Fitzpatrick. So they click on his name for DraftKings and thinking, oh, I know Ricky Fowler. He's good at golf. Well, a lot of the sharps are telling you, he's been bad off the tee, and he can't close. He can't close on Sundays. Well, the thing I like about Ricky Fowler is he is really, most of his wins are on the West Coast. He did have the big win at the TPC Sawgrass in Florida, but I think what he does in Phoenix correlates to what this course could be a little bit like. He does do pretty well at the. I think he did well at the American Express this past year. A couple of West Coast wins, West Coast cuts made in top tens. He always does bad at the Farmers. That's because it's a sponsored event, so I never look at that correlation. But I like Ricky. He was second after 54 holes last week. He's got a couple of top 25 since the restart. Sprinkle in with some GPP darts. Hopefully the ownership stays low. I do have another play I like in this 8K range. What about you?
I had Morikawa written up as well. I really like that play. And really the last guy I'm going to go to, and he paid off last week for me, that was Jason Day. I think Jason's got really good form coming in right now, 3 straight top tens. He obviously missed the cut before that. A couple events he missed the cut before that. But Jason Day is playing fantastic tee to green right now. As long as he doesn't come up with a bad back or something weird that happens, I could see another top 10 here for Jason Day. He actually played really well back when he has one of the guys who's played this course before. He's also won a PGA Championship. So I really do like Jason Day. I love the price too at 8-4. So I'm going to be playing him. Probably not cash. I don't think he's the best cash play, but GPPs, I'm very interested in him. Ricky, I think, is a great pick too. Anybody else you like here?
Yeah, I got one last guy, Terrell Hatton, 14th on approach. He is only 8K, fourth in par fours from 450 to 500, 30th in my proximity. He's third at the RBC, fourth at Rocket Mortgage. He won API earlier this year. He was terrible last week. He lost almost 8 strokes total. Very bad. I think that's what got me a little scared, and that's what I think everyone's going to flock to Fitz when they see how bad Hatton played last week. But I think Hatton is worthy after, the 3 straight, top fives. I can't put one bad week in the total weight on how he'll play for the rest of his year. So Hatton for GPPs, I think, is pretty strong. But that pretty much will wrap it up for us for 8K. I think we're moving along really well here. We got to get some value. We have to figure out how to fit these studs, how to get this balanced lineup in. Let's kick it off with some high 7K players, and let's give them something we can make a balanced lineup with.
Sure. I think the 7K is pretty loaded here. A lot of these guys, again, are players that we tend to play at much higher prices. We were on him last week. He was in our core over on Discord, and that's Abraham Answer. I'm going to be playing him again this week. He did finish T15, so that definitely worked out for us.
Yes, sir.
He's got 4 top 15s in his last 5 events. And just really, as we dig in last week, he gained in every single category. Is something we really love to see. No weaknesses in his game. If I'm looking at the model that we built with all of the stats that we love this week, the model absolutely loves Abraham Answer. He ranks 13th on approach, 12th tee to green, 6 fairways gained. He's 3rd in bogey avoidance, 9th on the par 4s, and 20th off the tee. He's ranked really, really high, especially at this 7.7 price. I think he is a fantastic plays. I think you can probably fit him in a lot of your cash lineups, and I think he is a good tournament play as well. My only concern would probably be that he ends up taking up quite a bit of ownership. Kind of in this price range. There's going to be some guys that others like, but I'm going to be playing Abraham Answer in quite a bit of lineups. So that's probably my first click up at the top. What about you?
I think Answer might not be as high owned as you may believe. Players like Tommy Fleetwood, Justin Rose, Jordan Spieth, Gary Woodland, those kind of golfers are usually in the 8K, 9K range when they're
Yep.
playing well. So I think for the MME style fantasy DFS players, they're going to pivot off of a player like Answer, who seems to be more optimal with his, current form. So the names around him will garner the ownership and take that from him. So I don't think Answer is going to be as high owned, and that's, like you said, what makes him a decent GBP play as well. The guy I do like in this range, out of the golfers I just mentioned, is Gary Woodland. He is sixth in approach in the last 36, 27th in driving distance, only 7,900. Gary Woodland has the kind of game that you would ask for a PGA champion. Long and straight seems to be his motto and forte. His big win was at the U.S. Open, which was in California at Pebble Beach. So I love that correlation as well. Typically a great coastal course golfer. He was 22nd at Memorial during some carnage. He did gain 6.2 on the approach there as well. Fifth at Workday, so he had a really good day. He had really good weekends in Ohio. I love that. He was runner-up to Rory in a match play event here in 2015. So he has played this court, played it successfully. Gary would make out for a really good, strong cash play. I think I'm with you in the balanced approach. Going to have someone like Gary, Answer, Fitz, Berger, some of these more optimal plays, guys that are
Yep.
playing insanely well. And just I want 6 to 6 through is a big part of my lineup constructions this week. So even I'm trying to not overanalyze ownership because of the 6 to 6 that I want. But when you get
Sure.
into some GPPs, you're going to have some low owned plays. That's why I've tried to mention some good GPP pivots off of what I believe to be some chalk. Give me a really good GPP play for everyone around that mid sevens range.
I think for me, Phil is fantastic play this week, but I'm also going to be playing quite a bit of Sergio Garcia right here. Sergio was 35th last week, so don't love that. He's got actually 3 straight where he's in the 30s. Before that at T5. But he was losing on approach and putting. He's typically much, much better on approach, so I expect that to climb just a little bit. He was actually number 2 off the tee last week, if you can imagine that. He was only
He's driving the ball really well.
Only beat out by Bubba. So that's fantastic to see. He has made his last 4 cuts, mostly due to his tee to green numbers. If we're looking at since the stoppage here, number 2 tee to green, number 6 off the tee, 11th in par 4s, and 16th in driving distance. So there's a lot to like about Sergio. I don't see him coming in nearly as high owned, maybe as a Phil, or people love to play your Matt Kuchar and your Paul Casey as well. So I could see a lot of people flocking to those guys and missing out on Sergio, who I'm going to try and take advantage of.
So I got a couple guys that I like in this range in the mid sevens that I think are going to go lower owned. And one guy I'll just mention quickly on things I know about him, but I probably won't have a lot, maybe a one-off play. So 2 guys I really like, Sungjae Im, 7,600, 25th off the tee, drives the ball. He's been driving the ball really well. Really good scrambler, really good around the green. Really good short game as well, where you add that around the green and putting. Excuse me. 20th in fairways gained. He has been struggling of late. He looks like he found something at the WGC at St. Jude. He didn't have a great Sunday, but you saw a lot of rounds with more birdies than bogeys for a good change of pace for Sungjae. I think the price drop has been really beneficial for his DK points. Like we had him at around 9K to start the restart because of how well he was playing before the restart. And it's just unfortunate the pandemic happened. Sungjae's like a creature of habit. And, I think the more tournaments he's been playing, the more rounds of golf he's been playing, the better he gets. He got 4 rounds at a no cut. I think that's going to only help him dial his game in. And at 7,600, there's a little risk to playing Sungjae Im. And I believe to be shorter ownership due to some guys missing on his play when he was the chalk in the restart. Another guy I really like for GPPs is Shane Lowry, 7,500. He is 8th around the green, 8th in driving distance. He finished 6th last week. Shane Lowry is typically a really good player in the wind. He's always been a British Open staple. He won it last year. So he is definitely good at coastal courses, playing in the wind. He excels in some carnage. I know he missed the cut at the Memorial, but Lowry's a really tough course golfer, and he's not afraid to win in a big field, and especially one that is deep as well. Just a small sprinkle on Lowry, but I've been playing him week in, week out. It's worked well, and it's worked, and it hasn't. But let's just drop into this lower 7K range. What do you think you'll find yourself? Who do you think you'll see yourself rostering the most?
Sure. I think, just looking early, I think he'll probably be pretty chalky, but that is Harris English. Harris English is in great form right now. He has 6 top 20s in his last 7 events. He gains the most strokes for him. He gains his most strokes in difficult courses, and he also gains a ton of strokes when it is windy AF. So I'm excited to look at him when it comes to those events, and that's certainly what we're looking at this week. He was 18th at the 3M, 13th at Memorial, and at both events he gained in every category. Just since the stoppage, 16th in putting, 8th in bogey avoidance. He's 3rd in scrambling, which kind of surprised me here, and I'm expecting a lot of guys to need to scramble this week. 23rd in par fours and 30th on approach. I think he is really underpriced here. I think we would still be touting him if he was 79 or 8K. He's actually really, really cheap on Yahoo as well, so I'm going to be playing a ton of him over there. I think he's a solid cash play. Less likely to miss a cut, more likely to finish top 20. For a guy 7,200, that's a solid play down in this range.
I love that for cash as well. I think Harris English, like you said, he had 23 birdies at the 3M. That's a lot of birdies. I mean, 3M wasn't necessarily a hard course, but that's really solid birdie making abilities from Harris English. Kind of having a renaissance in his career. Harris English was often a write-off, like a line through kind of golfer. But he's seemingly found his form, and he's found his identity throughout the last couple of years. I like that. Guy for me in this low 7K range that I'm looking into, that I've played in, week out, and I just want to kind of like scratch the back a little bit on the pat the back of me at the moment. But first to get on Ches Reavie 2 weeks ago before the 2 back-to-back top 10s. I'll just take my bow now. Ches Reavie was somebody that I was looking into, and then all of a sudden, I believe it was 2 weeks ago it was at the Memorial, who wasn't a top 10, but he played really well heading into Sunday, and then he blew up. But yeah, he was the random pop model guy of that week, and he did not disappoint. Like I said earlier, when I was alluding to strategy, not a guy that's going to make a ton of birdies, but he's not going to be a guy that's going to make a lot of bogeys and get himself into trouble. I have real good confidence that Reavie is going to find fairways, and he's going to find greens, and he's not going to make mistakes. And often that's going to be very beneficial. And when it comes to DK scoring, then it is a guy that's going to make 2 birdies and then a triple. So I like Reavie at 7,400, 6th in fairways gained, 3 straight top 25s, gained 7 on the approach last week. His game is in the best form since his last win, and his last win came in California. So I really like Ches Reavie. Very good on the West Coast, really good on bent grass POA mix. So give me some Ches. Anyone else in the 7K range you got an eye on or a gut feeling with?
That's probably about it. I know the models love Joaquin Niemann as well. I don't know how much I'm going to play. He struggled for quite a few rounds. He actually turned it up quite a bit. He was in my GPP winning lineup on FanDuel just because he turned it up so big on Sunday. He had a big comeback. It was fantastic. So
7 under on the weekend. Yeah.
I don't know how much I really want to play him. Again, the model loves him. So we'll see if I can fit him in a couple GPPs, I think. That's probably about it, though I do really love the Reeve play.
I got one last one. Kevin Streelman, 7,100, sixth fairways gained, 24th off the tee, 18th in my favorite par fours. He's not really long off the tee, but Streelman definitely in the best form of his career. He's made 4 top tens in 10 of 20 cuts. He can blow up though, so like this is like proceed with caution. Reeve and I believe oh shoot, the guy you mentioned was definitely the best. Harris English, they're definitely the better cash plays than Streelman. But yeah, Streelman has had some kind of flip the switch type moment since the restart, and he's been in the limelight. He's been on some final pairings. You can't go wrong with him at 7,100. I don't know if the PGA Championship's the right fit, but the price is so cheap. I think even if he does make a cut, that's going to help. I think that's definitely worth your shot, worth your money. Last one I got for 7K is Billy Horschel, 7,400. Kind of going backwards in pricing, but 7th in the model, 19th off the tee, 17th in fairways gained, 28th on the around the green, 16th in par fours. I just think his model pop was too good to ignore. He is typically a Bermuda, Florida guy. That is generally how well he does. That's when he does his best work as far as leaderboards. But it seems like the 13th in Ohio, and then the WGC in Memphis. He's straying away from his Florida ties, and he's doing pretty well. I can't disagree with the play for Billy Horschel at 7,400. Pretty good long iron player as well. But if that is it for you in this 7K range, we should dip into this punt range. I don't have many golfers here. That's why I wanted to spend a little time on the 7K range, because that is as deep as I'm going to go in some lineups. But I do have some punts worth talking about. Why don't you get us started off with your favorite 6K play?
So the favorite for me, he pops in my model quite a bit. That is Russell Henley. I'm sorry.
Henry.
Russell Henley. He did kind of disappoint here with a missed cut at the 3M, and then he was T51 last week at the Barracuda, which none of us got to play DFS on. He lost 3.6 strokes putting back at the 3M, so that's really why it made a big difference for him making the cut versus not. Prior to that, he was top 10 in 2 out of 4 events. He actually didn't play in any of the majors in 2019, but if we go the year before, he had a missed cut, a 50th, 25th, and a 15th. So 3 out of 4 made cuts with 2 top 25s. I do really like that upside. Since the stoppage here, he is 5th tee to green, 6th approach, and he is 8th in fairways gained, 25th in scrambling. So the model loves him for those reasons. He obviously had a couple good events there. So I'm going to play a little bit of him. I don't think I can play any guys in this 6K range in cash, but I'll throw a dart or two here at Russell Henley. Another guy I'm looking at, and that would be Doc Redman. Everyone loves to play themselves some Doc, and I think he's going to be very low owned since he did miss his last 2 cuts. Prior to that, though, 3 straight top 25s. Since the stoppage, 5th on approach, 5th in par 4 scoring. So as we look at it, I don't think there's anyone down in this range that really pops in all the categories. So we're looking at guys who maybe just pop up in 1 or 2. He's one for me on that approach specifically is very intriguing. Maybe throw a dart at Sepp Straka as well. He's really good off the tee, driving distance, and he's a fantastic putter as well. I don't know if there's all that much more that I'm going to end up on here in 6K.
Yeah, I like some of those plays. I don't think I'm going to be on Doc too much because there's 2 golfers at 6,900 I like a little bit more. My 2 are Ryan Palmer, who seems to be a tough course guru. He's same price as Doc, 38th in the model this week, 16th off the tee, 41st in driving distance, 32nd in approach at the WGC, or 3.2 on approach at WGC. He was second at Memorial, 15th at the WGC, and he gained 10 strokes on the approach at Memorial and 4.9 at. Yeah, what did I have? He's 32nd in approach, and he gained 4.9 at the WGC. There we go. Yeah, Ryan Palmer. He battled, Jason Day and JB Holmes at the American Express a couple years ago on the West Coast. As a guy who does play typically well at Phoenix, he could play well on these West Coast events. I like him in tough courses. Palmer definitely popped at the Memorial. I really liked that performance. Then I think at 6,900 that carries a little risk. Brian Steele is another golfer I like at 6,900, 15th in the model, 23rd on the approach, second in proximity from 200 yards, and sixth in par fours. That stuck out really well to me. Definitely going to be on Brian Steele. The 13th at Memorial was really influential on this pick. A couple other guys I do like: Jason Duffner at 6,400, 39th in the approach, 23rd around the greens, 24th in fairways gained. So he is long and straight. He came in 32nd at the 3M, 44th in the Memorial workday. He came in 56th, but he gained an approach. He 4 strokes gained an approach in each one of those events. So this tells me, regardless of how well the putter's working or how well he is off the tee, he's going to be fire with the irons, and I think that leads to made cuts. And I think Duffner, an ex-PGA Championship Victor can get it done at 6,400 and make a cut for us. 2 other picks I like in this 6K range: Harold Varner III, 6,600, 8th in the model, which was really huge to see. 13th in the approach, 29th off the tee, 6th in proximity, 36th in fairways gained, and at API he came in 36th, but he does have 2 straight missed cuts. That is concerning. I just don't think Memorial was a good fit for him, but before that he was lighting it up, and we were playing him week in, week out in that mid 7K range. Now we get him down here at 6'6". Lack of top 10s is concerning. It does kind of limit the GPP upside, but hey, if we're trying to find a 6'6", I cannot, find a difficult reason not to play Harold Varner III. Nick Taylor was the last one I got in this range. He had won Pebble Beach earlier this year, 6,300. As we know, Pebble Beach, a West Coast course with some swirling winds. 29th in the model, 15th fairways gained. He hits in the par 4 models as well. Last week he played at the WGC after a miscut at the Memorial, and he gained 5 strokes on tee to green. So I like Nick Taylor as well for relatively cheap price. I think that was literally it. I had those 5 written down, and I think those are the only 5 I'm going to play come Thursday. So
sure. The only other guy I see, JT Poston, 9th in fairways gained, 17th on par 4s, 13th scrambling, 30th off the tee. So at least he's up there in a couple of those categories. There's certainly some not to like about him. The approach has not been great. So JT Poston, certainly is a guy that if you want to throw a dart at, I think he can find his way into a GPP. And then obviously the price gives you a little relief elsewhere. So.
Yeah, I just need to know if Poston's going to make fairways this week. That's, I think, one thing I was worried about was how well is he going to do getting off the tee. But I think that's really good. We gave everyone a lot of stuff from the 7K, 6K range, a lot to like, a lot of good studs. But John, anything else to add on picks this week?
No, should be a fun week. I think, like we said, a big cash week, and I think we're going to hit it big here again.
Yeah, congratulations on the takedown. That has to be exciting. I know the crown was flowing for the celebratory victories this weekend, so really happy to see that. Subscribers have been doing pretty well for us. As always, guys, give us – oh, wait, before I close it out, we got one and dones. Yes. Funny story. last week on the video, John and I were debating, okay, you go first. No, you go first. No, you go first. Well, we were thinking of picking the same player, and he wins the battle of I get to go first, and he takes JT, and he ends up winning, and I was the guy I was going to take. But all's fair. I was handing it to you. But
it felt good. That was my first one and done win of the season, outright win.
Yes.
It was good. A lot of money on that one.
I like it. I like it.
You should pick first this week.
Okay, I'll pick the winner this week. Is that what you're saying? If I get the glorious first pick, so I pick the winner. Okay, so retracking some names I've picked, so I don't repick. I've taken Morikawa. I've taken Hovland. I took Brooks and Rahm already, and I did take Xander. So I can't take them again. Who shall I take? I am going to take. Let's see. Who wins WG? Who wins PGA Championships? Good golfers win PGA Championships, right? You got to take. Well, I took Brooks already, so I can't take Brooks. You know who's going to win this week? Patrick Cantlay.
Ooh,
Patrick Cantlay is going to win this week. On the West Coast.
I had two choices for my one and done, and Patrick.
That's what happened to me last week.
My second choice. I'm glad you didn't pick my first choice, but that's because you already took him. I'm going to take Xander as my number one guy. I think he's got a great shot at winning it. Both him and Cantlay, I think, are fantastic options, whether you're DFS or outright. In this case, one and done.
Those are two good ones. I like those two. Those are two good ones to battle. Oh, that's awesome. All right, cool. Both guys that can definitely win this week too. Who should definitely feel good about a good major win too as well.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that'll wrap things up for our first major show of the year. Like always, like and subscribe our videos, and join us at fsipga.dfs.com. Join our Discord. A lot of good information comes out later in the week when we get closer to lock. Weather, always a factor. It seems like this is going to be a big week for weather, as we alluded to in the preview. John and I do a good job on the course sheet. As always, we have some, what should I say, some results ending to our sheet where we, show you how well we did on our sheet, so you can see the growth throughout the weeks, and then picks that you see on the videos, and then we always try to add a couple as we go. So you're always getting fed good information from us both, but you have to find us in the Discord to do so. So sign up on fsidfs.com, like and subscribe to the video. John, thank you for joining me this evening. It's a blast, as always, week in, week out. I thank you for joining us. Any final thoughts?
Nope, that's it. Let's have some green screens like last week. Continue on. This is a fun week. PGA Championship's gonna be a lot of fun.
You heard it from the Takedown Master. All right, guys, take it easy and catch you later.